Welcome to the March 21st Design Review Board meeting for Tiburon. We'll start the meeting with a call to order and a roll call.
Board Member Malat,
Here.
Board Member O'Dorisio,
Here.
Board Member Rosner,
Here.
Vice Chair Chong is absent, and Chair Kim.
Here. At this point, this is the oral communications portion of the meeting. Anybody who wishes to address the Design Review Board on a subject not on the agenda, this is the time to do it. Please limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes, and we'll start here with the in-person audience and see if there's anybody who would like to speak on a matter not on the agenda. Okay, seeing none. Is there anybody online who'd like to speak? Give it a couple seconds.
Chair Kim, I have no hands raised.
Okay, great. Next we'll go through the staff briefing. Oh,
No staff briefing.
no staff briefing. Okay. And now we're gonna consider the minutes. Would anybody like to make any changes or make a motion to adopt the minutes from the March 7th meeting? I wasn't here, so how does that work? There's only 2 of us who were here. Can we not adopt them?
It actually just requires a quorum of who, you don't have to have been at the
Okay.
meeting of the minutes, so
Okay.
you could just review the minutes and it.
Sounds
So-
great. Okay, anybody like to make a motion?
Motion to accept. Second.
We'll just have a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. All opposed, hearing none. All 4 members who are present voted in favor, and there was 1 who wasn't present. Next, we will move it to the public hearings. From my understanding, as a courtesy to our esteemed firemen, we will move that to the top of the agenda. Is that correct?
It's within your discretion, so it's up to you. If there is no opposition from the board, you may move the public hearing item 4 to the first.
Okay.
I would so move.
Should we take a voice vote? All in favor? Hearing none opposed, motion passes 4-0. If the Tiburon Fire Department would like to come and present their building, that'd be great. And I assume we're going to use the same sort of procedure where the applicant has 5 to 20 minutes to present. And then we, the design review board asks questions to the applicant or the staff. Then there's a public testimony period where each member who wishes to speak can speak for 3 minutes. And then the applicant has another 5 minutes to respond. And then the hearing then is closed to the public and the design review board deliberates amongst themselves. So if the clock is ready, we can begin.
Good evening. Thank you for having me here. I was planning on a late night, so I appreciate being bumped to the first agenda here. My name is Gregory Barton. I am with LCA Architects, and we were commissioned to design a replacement fire station for the old fire station number 10 on Paradise Drive. Let's see, which one do I push here? The old station is coming up on 65 years old, which is old for a fire station. It's 2 stories, about 3,000 square feet in area. It's antiquated, it's not equipped for the necessities of modern firefighting, and it's not large enough to handle the up-to-date equipment. All right. Next one.
We can also do it manually if that's not
Yeah,
working.
next slide, please. So as you can see, the site is pretty tight. There's a steep hillside behind the station with an existing retaining wall, which for the most part we are keeping. This way the building is sited is pretty much the only way it can fit on the site and still allow room for staff parking and any outdoor training that they might be doing. It also includes a emergency generator in a CMU enclosure and a small training structure that the firefighters will use periodically just to throw a ladder up against it and practice rescues, things like that. Next slide, please. The new station is a one-story. It's about 3,000 square feet. It has living area there on the right, a day room, dining, kitchen, 5 dorms, 2-bed dorms, bathrooms, laundry, a gym in the back. And on the left-hand side is the apparatus bay. It'll accommodate 2 vehicles. Has a decon room, which is separate from the living, which is a very important part of modern day firefighting, keeping the carcinogens away from the living area. And a storage room with a mezzanine above that's basically going to replace the 200 square foot storage shed that's on the site now. Next slide, please. Our goal in designing the station was to design a station that would fit well within a residential community. So the massing, the low pitched hip roofs, materials all give a residential character. Next slide, please. I guess you get to that one, do the next one too. And one more, please. Materials and colors are there to basically mimic what's already on the site and the downtown fire station too. Same siding, same colors. This has a metal roof, which is going to be long lasting. And some stone wainscot. Last slide, please. And then landscaping is all along the left side of the site there, using fire resistant planting, drought tolerant planting, and low maintenance planting. And this should be, an attractive approach to the building. Really, that's all I have to say. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. The fire district needs a new station, and we believe this will meet all their requirements and needs. Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. Anybody from the review board have any questions? I have a question, couple
Sure.
questions. Will you be retaining the tiny little mailbox that bikers use to fix their bikes?
I don't know about where, chief?
Second question is cell phone tower. Are you planning on enhancing cell phone coverage? Because that side of the Paradise has weak cell phone coverage.
Contrary to where fire services have
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if the applicant would like to yield their time, we'll ask the audience to see if they have any comments on the proposal. First, we'll ask for the in-person, from the in-person audience to see if there's any questions there or comments. Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the online audience and see if there's anybody who would like to make a comment.
Chair Kim, there are no public comments.
Okay, great. And the applicant now has an opportunity to respond to no comments. Okay, and then at this point, then we will close this off to the public and deliberate amongst ourselves.
Well, I noticed you managed to duplicate the downtown fire station's red doors, which are the most impressive thing, but you didn't mention it here. Uh, You figured somebody on the board just might mention it. I think it's a handsome addition to the community and residential in character and doesn't seem to affect anybody particularly from a view blockage or massing standpoint. I'm for it.
Yeah, I would echo that. It looks beautiful. I would definitely be in favor of it.
Very much in favor of the design and the presentation. Thank you.
As someone who depends on that station, actually. I'm in favor of that design. I think it fits well with what's existing right now. And great. Anybody like to make a motion?
I move that we approve the project as designed and submitted and that the requisite CEQA findings are made.
A second.
Do we need to specify that it's categorically exempt from CEQA? Okay, that we assess and we agree with the staff finding that it's categorically exempt from CEQA. Shall we take a roll call vote just in case? Okay.
Board Member Rosner,
Aye.
Board Member Malat,
Aye.
Board Member Odericio,
Aye.
Chair Kim.
Aye. The motion passes 4-0 with one member of the board absent. Thank you so much. Next, we will move to PH1. PH1 is 114 Lyford Drive, sorry. And we'll start off with the applicant.
Can you bring them up? Right now.
The audience can't see, the camera audience can't see the model. Should we try to move it?
Oh, that's a good call, yeah.
So that's just push hard.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Nushin Oshideri, owner designer of 114 Lyford. This is the continuation of the previous brainstorming and implementing all of your comments. And so I went back to the drawing board and took Suzanne's suggestion of angling the addition, and so I I took that angle and stepped it back. And then nip and tuck recommendation of Alex and modified it from every possible side of the building. So going back to the site plan, we were already within the setbacks and a lot more. And by pushing everything backward and to the side, even the setbacks have become more larger than is required. This is existing. Again, the bedrooms are on the freeway. We are trying to minimize the street noise and have a life so we can sleep at night. This is what I have come up with. Move the bedrooms, the master bedroom and the family room. The family room, I moved it back by 4 feet from here and then cut back all the overhangs to the south by 1 foot. So at this point, we have pushed back the whole section by 5 feet and reduced the width of it by 6 inches. And then over here, the master bedroom, I reduced the width by 1 foot and pushed it back by 6 foot, so total of 11 from the original point and 1 foot of overhang. And then the master bath just reduced the width by 1.5 feet and pushed it back by 7.5 feet. So it's 18.5 feet back from what we proposed originally.
You want to go to the next?
Okay. This is just a diagram showing what the original proposal was. And this is what we are proposing right now. And then the deck, we cut it back. So it's going to be over 4 feet overhang for under the building. I mean, for the space under, and all of this is coming out. Oh, and then I forgot to say that the master bedrooms, we lowered the ceiling to 9 feet only. All we are trying to do is to get more views of the San Francisco and the major views. Here is the lower floor. I pushed back everything by 4 feet and took out all of that, which was above before, and the overhang is 4 feet. So this is where it goes even further back tucked into the slope, and 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, still the same, and the TV area. So we have to excavate more further in. And this is the front elevation. Nothing has changed. I just colored it. And our total roof height is 4 feet 3 inches below the 30 feet of building max. And and then we lowered the ridge by the existing roof ridge by 1 foot. Here is the back elevation. So we moved everything. Oh, sorry. We moved everything. This what went back by 4 feet, And this whole thing went back by 18.5 feet and lowered the roof ceiling here by 1 foot, so. And this whole part has no effect on any neighbors or anybody. This is the right side elevation, and we lowered the ceiling here to 9 feet and pushed everything over by 3 feet in total. And these got shrunk by 6 inch, 1 foot and 1.5 foot. Okay. Yeah, this is, can we go back to could you go back up, no, the last elevation? Yeah, that there. That's the back elevation where the garden is. We took out what I was trying to preserve as my garden, but still some left. And so this is a bedroom, bathroom, the family room and master bedroom, master closet and bathroom. So reduce the ceiling height by 9 feet. And that's the back elevation. This is the story poles and overhangs are part of the corners of the story poles include the overhangs. These are all the properties in our neighborhood that they are over the lot coverage and floor area. And these are the color samples that you can see samples, the real samples in front of you. And Sam, the neighbor at 118, has made a note, letter that he wants to see views driving through the driveway. And he was one of the first people who signed and supported our project. So that comment, we don't understand it because it's dangerous when you're driving to look at the views. And we didn't know that was a criteria. And this is the previous story poles that it was not what we were proposing did not obstruct any major views. And this is from the same windows, same spot, same location. And here you can see the St. Hilary and downtown Tiburon. So, but by what we've done, we have created what we have set up to do and to consider the neighbor's concern. Another point of view from living room, and you can see that the first pictures, they were taken from going from the farthest point of the living room to the middle to the right. And this is in the middle because you can see the reflection of their backyard and dining set into the mirror, into the window. So they have the same condition that I was trying to create, the outside, outdoor, and then the indoor, and then the outdoor. So this is the good representation of what they can see. This is the furniture, the outdoor furniture on their deck, back deck. And this is the master bath, master bedroom, and then family room. This is looking up at the hillside, and you can see the scale of all of these homes. And this is 116 is a humongous White House, and this is our house. So you can see the scale of all these properties relevant to ours.
Nushin, do you mind if we pause for just a second to fix something on the screen?
Sorry,
Sorry, we're gonna pause for just a moment.
sure.
So the presentation wasn't showing on Zoom, so we just want to make sure everyone at home can see it as well. Thank you so much. Sorry about that.
Sure. Can it go ahead? Yeah, okay. So again, this is our home. This is 1116, and this is a brand new home that is under construction that is blocking this one, the 110. This whole side of it is being blocked. And it's already, right now is under construction, the 108. And these are all the scale of the buildings in that hillside. And this is our house. You can see the relevancy of the scale of what is right now. Again, the same project that it shows. This is brand new under construction right now. And these are all the homes. This is the path that we walk. We go around and then go down and then we'll come up. And so our goal was to make our house functional for aging in place. And we have talked about all of this stuff before. And all these properties that they are like anywhere from 27% to 16.5%. And our lot coverage is at 16.4. And these are all the changes I've made to rehash everything. Move the family room to north by 4 feet. Reduce the width by 6 inches. Reduce the south overhang from 4 feet to 3 feet. And move the master bedroom to north by 10 feet. And reduce the width by 1 foot. And reduce the overhang from 4 feet to 3 feet. And lower the ceiling height from 10 feet to 9 feet. And then the master bath was moved 17.5 feet. The width 1.5 foot was reduced. And the overhang was reduced by 1 foot. And the ceiling height was lowered from 10 foot to 9 feet. And then can I see the below, the lower part? Oh, okay. So the lower part moved back the TV area, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms to north under the deck by 4 feet and reduced the overhang from, I think it was 11 feet to 4 feet. And over half of this expansion is underground, is under the deck. So I just wanted to say that again. So Bobby, do you have anything else to say?
Yeah. Just want to briefly go over. Hi, I'm Bob Hamari, Nushin's husband. Just wanted to go over some of the quick notes I made because we just received the real late letter from our neighbors again. I just wanted to address some of the issues that it'll be a repetition of what she just said. They're minimizing the moves that we made, but they're not minimum. We made 11.5 foot, 9 foot, substantial move backs and deletion or reduction of dimensions. So these aren't really small tweaks. They're big changes as far as we are concerned. A lot of work went into them and, a lot of effort to accommodate this. There is no significant bulk added here. The real bulk is the existing home that we have, and we are tucking everything into the hillside and right next to the existing building, and we are jogging it, as some of you suggested last time in our working session. So it's kind of, I don't see a big bulk really compared to what you see on that hillside. It's not at the highest, our addition is not at the highest elevation. You can see in the, can I step there or? So the highest elevation is here, and this driveway that goes to the neighbor's home is up here. And our addition is by no means at the highest elevation. Highest elevation is here. And by the way, on that point that they want to have a view while driving, the other neighbors driving from their home to Lyford, they want to have a view. We're blocking. We highly suggest that they don't do that. They get into a ditch or something. That's not safe driving. And it's not obviously a requirement to provide neighbors with view while driving. She's saying that elevation is 13 feet below that road, which brings up the other question that, that backside of our family room that, they're concerned about privacy. We should be concerned about the privacy because they're overlooking us. That this, their tenant, on this rental property is viewing us down the hill, which they can't see because there are all those trees there. There's no visibility from this rental property. Their tenants can't even see us. And we are not concerned about our privacy because, again, there are trees there and all of that. And again, we're confused about lack of privacy on their end because we are 25 feet below that. We can't see up and try to look through the windows. There's a concern about the value of the property by going down if we block a few of the views here. Frankly, we have a history with our dear neighbors here. Before they purchased this property, they came to our property because they needed to build a fence that they haven't finished yet. They got our signature to finish the fence while they hadn't even bought this property. We opened up our heart. We showed them our desires. Lo and behold, they went and bought this property. Before that, they said, yeah, everybody has a right to the view. So that was their point of view when we were thinking about, potentially the old owner of 120 would object to this. So they were on our side. We were totally surprised when they bought it, and now they're opposing this. So this is just kind of baffling to us. And the other thing that really disturbs us, this last minute objection from 118 Lyford, which we are totally for it. They signed it, and all of a sudden they're concerned about their view from driving to Lyford. That's just totally confusing. I've never, I've been at this for many, many years. This is the first one. I just baffled, I guess.
And those pictures from Lyford, from our house, is like a few feet away from a silo. It's like right there.
Oh yeah, there's an objection about that. The picture that they've taken from our house from down below. The only time you see our house as you're driving up Lyford is as you get close to a silo. That's it. 1 second you drive by it. And you also see their homes, 116 and all of that on the side. So there is no visibility, and there were a bunch of trees there, that are already covering half of it. So, you don't see our house driving up Lyford until you get close to a silo, a few,
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for your time. At this time, we'd like to invite the public to come and make comments. If you could come up to the microphone and state your name. Oh, sorry, the board. Did the board have any questions to the applicant? Sorry.
Is this tile what you're proposing on the outside of the house?
Yes,
Okay. And this is sort of the base color?
yes.
And I understand the lot coverage is 16%, and I,
Could you put your mic?
it was always close to that. There was a miscalculation from the plan.
the limit on that
16, right?
is 16?
Right,
Okay.
and
It's 15.
it is.
Oh, it's 15, so it's like 1.6% over. on the lot
1.4.
1.4, okay.
And it has always been that there was a miscalculation that they said it's 19, but they were kind enough to revisit the calculation and corrected it.
Those are the only questions I have.
I just had one question, maybe it might be more for staff. In the staff report, it says the height of the primary closet and bathroom was reduced 11.5 to 10.5. Is it from 11.5 to 10.5 or 11 to 10? Because I was seeing in the plans, it seemed 11 to 10, so I just wanna.
It's 10.5 plus 1 foot of the overhead. So that makes it to 11.5.
Oh, this was in the height. So I
Oh, the height.
the height, yeah, just in the staff report.
Oh, the height, yes, it went from 10 to 9. So overall from 11
11
to
to
10.
10, that's what I thought.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Oh, we can clear up with the staff. Is that accurate? And it's just a mistype in the staff report?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay,
Sorry, I was
okay,
checking on the
I was
plans,
just-
but
Thanks.
I think it was a typo.
Just wanted to clarify on the roof, there's no other planned additional use for the roofing as a deck area, and any comments about your thoughts on using solar panels?
Um, we are open to it. Sorry, I missed your question.
We're not allowed to comment on whether, if they apply solar panels, we can't comment on it. So we can't, we're not allowed to talk about it because,
We can't ask where they would put them if they use them?
oh, we can ask that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess that
that-
was my
that's a-
question.
yeah,
If you were going to use solar panels, did you have a plan of where you would put them? And was there any other usage for the roof?
I think you are required to do it because it is under current, it's enough of a renovation, is that correct?
They're underneath the 50%.
Oh, they are
demolition,
underneath.
So
Okay,
they're
it's-
not subject to the
optional.
Cal Green.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Jim, we haven't thought about that.
No, that's.
But if you have any suggestions, we love to hear it.
I guess I was more concerned about the additional height or view obstruction than if they were going to be used. So that's fine. I understand your
I
answer.
think solar panels can go on the ground also. But we are open to any suggestions, but we didn't think about it at all. And if we were to do it, I'm sure there's some kind of guidelines or whatever.
We're not allowed to comment on where they go. Yeah. Do you have any comments?
No.
Question? Oh. Okay, I see no other comments or from the board to staff or the applicant. Thank you for your presentation, and now we'll move to the audience in person. Please state your name and your address, and you have 3 minutes to speak. I see 2 speakers there, just so that you're aware, you get 3 collectively or each individually 3.
Could we do 3 individually?
Yep, then.
Can you pull up the link?
Yeah.
We're having some technical difficulties, maybe just a couple seconds.
Okay, no worries.
Sorry, nothing seems to be working right now.
You mind going to the third slide? Please. Thank you. My name is Christian Soul. We live at 116 Lyford and we own 120 Lyford. We bought 120 Lyford. And my wife's Rin, her mom has just turned 80. She's probably going to move there in a year or two. That's why we bought it. So we continue to oppose this. We do recognize the attempts to nip and tuck. I think the nip and tucks did not result in real material changes. And not only the view, but just the presence of this mass. Can you scroll down a little bit, please? It's because, again, that this is being maybe not built on the highest part of the 114 property, but pretty darn close to the highest part, as we've talked about several times already. It creates, can you go to the next slide, please? So this is without, then this is with the new story poles. And so yes, we have great views of San Francisco and Golden Gate Bridge, but there's this large mass, and this is a view from our dining room. If you were to go all the way to the far end of the living room, you would capture the photo Nishin took. I'm sure there's parts of the 120 property, which we own, where this mass is less massive, but in a very important room, the dining room, and the kitchen is right behind the dining room. So if you were to back up a little bit more, the kitchen is there. It's very highly visible. And it's also visible driving up Lyford. It's visible in our driveway. It's just there. It does block St. Hilary's, downtown Tiburon, the yacht club, which maybe some don't view as important, but there are important views to us. But this is what we see out of our dining room. And in addition, I'm not exactly sure where it is because the story poles don't show where the glazing is, but there's 5 or 6 windows on that north wall facing 120. Privacy, light pollution, it's the family room and the kitchen, right? So as I said last time, those are the first lights on in the morning, the last lights off at night. So even if you don't care about each other's privacy, there's just a lot of lights coming up the hill at us, in addition to this mass during the daytime. Can you go to the last slide, please? I think it's 6. Sorry, you can stop on 5. So this is driving up Lyford, kind of see 114 now. If you go to the next slide, it's for everybody to enjoy. It's just this big vertical mass. And again, it's because this is being built on near the highest part of the property. So if you can go to the second slide, please. I think we all agree that the hillside design guidelines are a very valuable resource. They protect all of our real estate. There's concepts very clearly articulated in there: reducing visual bulk, terracing designs, following hillside contours, view protection, window placement, important lot coverage limits are all being violated here. And they should be followed because there's variances being proposed. And the last board meeting was very clear that it's a significant mass. The solution is probably doing something much more dramatic. The impact on 120 is the presence of this mass in their view. Think in terms of dramatic changes in roof lines and definitely start carving the building into the hillside. They didn't do that.
Thank you. Is there somebody else from the audience who'd like to make a comment? Okay. And we'll go on to the online and comments as well after. Yeah, after, yeah.
Hi there, I'm Rin Pressick. I live at 116 Lyford, and as Christian said, we purchased 120 for a couple reasons. In the short term, we our home. We were told we needed to emergency shore up the house and needed to move out immediately. We've done mold remediation. We moved in when the house was 6 months old, and we've spent the last 3.5 years dealing with structural issues. It was not, maybe as Bob and Nushin were insinuating, for any other reason than that. When they moved in to their home, we met them pretty shortly after. We took over a pie. We understand their intention immediately when they bought the house was to remodel it. We wanted to be neighborly about it. We understood, they wanted to update their house. We're all for that. What we didn't understand was their intention to have such an impact on the surrounding neighboring houses. As Christian mentioned, also the glazing seems to be a real issue for us in terms of privacy. I know Bob and Nushin talk about the trees there. They probably don't realize that some of those trees fell down in the storm. We removed them. Those trees maybe aren't always going to be there. And it's just a much different experience coming down the shared driveway for the 3 homes that surround Bob and Nushin's proposed design. Certainly all for a terraced idea. I understand they want the views and the modern design. Just wish they would understand the impact they're having on their neighbors. It's not turning into a very neighborly situation anymore. Unfortunately, Sam and Cindy, who are out of the country, asked us to express their concern. They did sign that petition Bob and Nushin put together long before any story poles went up. So on paper, sure, your design looks good, but then when the story poles go up, it's a different story. So it's their intentions, I understand, to have all their bedrooms where they want them. The impact is not so great on all of the neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else from the audience wishing to make a comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to the online audience.
Chair Kim, there are no hands raised.
Okay, at this point, the applicant has 5 minutes.
Go back to those,
Pardon me, Nushin, do you want us to bring up your presentation?
The box,
The,
the box and then the picture that they boxed it from Lyford,
got it.
from a few feet away from Asila.
So from the slate mail.
No,
Yeah, that's what.
this
Also the
one,
previous one, please, also, I wanted to say.
The-
thank you.
the previous one.
This one. So the thing is, we went there with Sam the other day, and as you move from the left side of their living room to the right side, for the most part, you have all the views of the St. Hilary's Church, and then also Tiburon Yacht Club, downtown Tiburon, everything. As soon as you get close to the kitchen area or the family room area, yeah, you get you get some blockage. You do get the blockage, you don't get the view of those buildings, but for the most part, you do get it. So if you want to see St. Hilary, just move a little bit to the left. It's not that it's only one corner, it's the whole length of living room. You get those open views. That was our purpose.
And this one, this box that you see here you see that tree? Our expansion is behind that.
Behind the tree,
Yeah, I
they're
don't
showing
know
the
what
box this side of the tree.
This box represents nothing. This is just, I don't know what this line is because our expansion stops here.
Behind the tree, not in
Behind the
front of the
tree.
tree.
And then we have a 4 feet overhang there. It's impossible for them, it's impossible for them to see anything down there. If anybody should be concerned about privacy, it will be us. Because they're looking down at us. And
From
our
25 feet higher than our property here.
And this is, we, at that point on our model, when you look at it, we are 13 feet under the driveway that they are talking about. And their house is at least 10, 15 feet above. This box is very bogus. I think this whole thing is very,
Frivolous is the word that
Yes,
we've been trying to see if we can use, but we need to use it here.
and then the next, again, they did it to the other, this whole thing here, when the box, you see all those trees here? And there was a tree here, the fire department asked us to cut it because it was kind of dying. And it was an old cypress tree. So if you go to the next, this box, they're covering all of these trees here. This
So then
box
this is very misleading presentation. This box needs to be behind the trees. And you can only see it about 100 feet to Asila. You don't see it anywhere else
Go around.
driving up
Yeah.
the hill.
There's, I mean, when you go to the previous slide, this one, that's where this is the only area because this is law here. And that few seconds, you see our house. You have options, you can look straight or to the other side and that 15 seconds, don't look at our property. And these trees here, that box goes from here to here. It doesn't go down here. It's very misrepresentation of what's happening here. We are lowering this ridge actually by 1 foot. So do you have anything else to?
No, I think whatever we do to that side of this old building is gonna look nicer driving up the hill. If you prefer to see this old shack there, then albeit, the lights, the pollution, whatever is already there. We light up the living room at night, you can see all the lights. You can see it now. It's gonna be only nicer when we rebuild it. It's gonna be more modern. It's gonna be on a wall on the left side, all the way on the side of Lyford. So we're gonna be deleting those windows that are now opening into Lyford. If anything, we're reducing the exposure to the street and all of that. I just had something that I just wanted to share here. Anyways, I'm gonna read it off of this. I'm a little bit too excited. We've listened to the feedback and made an earnest effort to incorporate it into a dramatically different orientation. We've made compromises so that all parties can be happy with a final product that is both aesthetically pleasing and practical.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, we have
I
questions
have
from the
one more
board.
question.
Mhm.
What is the ceiling height in the living room
In the living room,
you propose? Yes.
living room is like this. I think it's, I don't know, I'm just flattening that.
No, what is the ceiling height, the resultant ceiling height in there?
No,
To the underside of the ceiling, so the finished ceiling.
the
floor to the
existing, what
ceiling.
it's
The future.
it's under the ridge.
That's not an
That's all
answer.
it is.
I think it's 12 feet. I'm not sure.
I think it's 13 and a half, but I'm not, that's your,
The
your,
ceiling, the
your
ceiling-
dimensions aren't clear is what I'm getting at.
The ceiling height.
The
is-
ceiling height.
I think it's overall is 13 and a half and we're lowering it by 1 foot and the joists are gonna go under, not above. Existing is 13 and a half, but we're bringing,
The existing ridge, you say.
right. And then we're bringing it down to the bottom of the beam.
Okay. And what is the ceiling height going to
I think
be in
it's 12 feet
the ceiling height in the master bedroom?
and 9 feet.
Okay. Right, I don't have any other questions.
Anybody else on the board have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
At this point, we will close off the hearing to the public and deliberate amongst ourselves. Anybody have any questions for staff before we start? Okay, seeing none, anybody like to lead off? Okay.
I know this is difficult to do and you've got a beautiful site here, but I'm rather disappointed in that the changes you made don't seem to change the problems much that we outlined in our last get together. This is by just putting a foot or 2 or 4 feet, or even in one case, you said 9 feet, I believe. That's a significant effect, but it's in an area that doesn't change much of the overall, because it was a small part of the building. One of the things you're doing here is you're taking a gabled roof, which you now have, and the ridge is at the height that it now is. And you're doing this with the roof, you're flattening it. So you're not lowering the visual effect of that gable roof as you see a vista, you're raising the mass that is blocking the view. And then because you're not making any changes internally in the house, apparently you're concerned about the foundation costs or something. I don't know for sure, but that was what I got at the last meeting. You're not willing to step the building down into the hillside more. Everything is kind of being pushed up into this one corner of the site. And that's the problem, because it has more effect there than in most other places. If you look at the drawings you've provided, which by the way are not very well dimensioned, it's very hard to figure out dimensions on your drawings. I'd like to have better information, but we don't. But there are huge areas underneath the house that are effectively void areas. They're just open because you're putting the house on top of the ground rather than into the ground.
I don't know, I think one of the reasons maybe they're doing this is to avoid the 50% trigger.
Be that as it may, it's way over 50% by my calculation now. They're adding a huge amount and they're remodeling every single part of the building. So I don't see how it meets the 50% requirement, but that aside, that'll be determined by staff and the building department. There are a couple of other things that I'm very concerned about. You're proposing a very light color on the outside of the building. And I know you must be enamored of this color, but between the tile and the proposed color, effectively you're painting the building white. And one of the concerns that we have on that hillside is the background for your house is dark gray-green trees on a scale of 1 to 10, with 0 being white and 10 being black. The hillside is about a 6 or a 7, 60 or 70% gray. And we're trying to make people realize that when you paint white on these hillsides, it looks like eczema on the hillsides cumulatively. And I would not vote for this color on the house under any circumstances. I'd like to see something in the 50% gray tone, or buff or sand or rust or something, but something dark on the building rather than something light. You don't need to stand out on the hillside because your house is more important than any others. It should be recessed into the environment that you're given, which is mostly vegetation and trees. The roof material has the same thing, only it should be at least a 60 or 70% gray. So otherwise, it's highly reflective on anybody uphill of you. Your roof is like a signboard painted bright white in sunlight when the sun's out there to your south, which is your primary view. And you're looking at this. And I think it's important that we take the effect of things like that and reduce them where we can. Personally, I think the building is, I'm an architect and I know you're apparently an architect, but I don't think this building does the site justice as you're proposing it. And I'd like to see a more delicate handling of the site than what you have here. This is just a mass of little boxes on the hillside, and I don't think it does the site justice. I think you need to look more carefully at it. I do appreciate the fact that you've lowered the roof a little bit over the master bedroom. And I know you think that's a big change. I don't think it is very much. I think you ought to look at it and try to make the overall house less massive looking. That single wall covered with this tile where the garage is and the living room have a 2-story height wall coming up is particularly a problem. So that's all I have to say.
Excuse me, I might be mirroring some of Jim's comments, but I think I see it in this way. I appreciate the effort to the changes that were made. And yet, you're still building at the highest point of the property. I believe that there's been an opportunity to, I'll just use the word recess this into the hillside, and that didn't happen. And I know too that it was brought out before that there's a tremendous cost difference when you have to dig into the hillside and perhaps utilize it more. And I think I'm envisioning this the same way Jim just explained. But at the end of the day too, I really struggle with the loss of the view of St. Hilary's in downtown Tiburon. I think that's an important view for your neighbors. And a similar design, as I said, built more into the hillside, perhaps expanded in a different direction would accomplish that. It would definitely add additional cost, I think, to what you're proposing now. But I've been disappointed in the past when the design review did not reserve views. And I think this is a example of another one where this could be done differently and preserve that.
Where to begin? I think where I'm struggling right now is with the comments from my fellow board members. Correct me if I'm wrong, but reading between the lines, it feels like in your eyes, an addition or a modification of the existing building can't really happen. It feels that to expand the house on site to a house size it's all the neighbors enjoy, that to preserve what feels like 100% of the view and reduce some bulk, it needs to be a new construction and dig into the hill. I'd be interested to hear the response if I've correctly.
May I respond?
Yes, you can.
No, I don't, but I do think there is one problem holding the designer at bay, and that is they said they wanted to make this effectively a uniform floor height through the entire floor. you're working with a steep hillside. It doesn't lend itself to a single floor solution. And what you're trying to do is you're fighting the hill all the way. So if you add stairs, step downs, half floors, half floor lower, you could have the same views from your property, but never have the problem of affecting other people that much. So I think that's the problem.
Yeah. Which, yeah, I agree. I think that was a constraint that I have always kind of thought about as this project. It's single level on the main floor for kind of a long-term usage of the home.
Single floor that you actually have to go up the stairs.
To get
access.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
To get to now.
it's got stairs now to the lower level.
To the lower level.
Yeah.
but to the upper level, to the top level, you actually, there's series of steps.
Yeah.
Front end, yeah. Yeah, okay. I think that's kind of, again, I go in this balance of, being overly punitive versus, trying to, save the views. I will say, I do think, for me, I do think the views have improved. I think that the dining room, I think we always said it, the dining room with this current design, with all the constraints, like use the existing frame, make it all one level, that we were gonna lose St. Hilary's. I think there have been improvements in that. I think the water's restored in you still lose St. Hilary's from the dining table, but I think all the water is preserved. I do think I was sitting down on the couch in the living room, like you do see St. Hilary's. I think part of it's the screening in between the two properties is not great right now. And it's not, you see the story poles and you see kind of some sparse, unkept acacias. And I think if there was some beautiful screening, it would be a little less harsh on kind of in that location. You still lose St. Hilary's, and I think that's kind of where I'm struggling to kind of get alignment of this board of like, how far are we gonna go from a, punitive for the applicant from a design perspective and make that versus, how best we can save the view. And I think that warrants a little bit, I think that's where I'd like to have the discussion among the board, because we kind of have been a little, from the guidance perspective, it's really different to say, add some steps and lower it another, 2 feet, 3 feet, or if you all want it all in one level, it's got to be on a new build.
We've struggled with this issue before. And I think that having a uniform ball floor on a steep hillside lot is just a problem. I mean, I live on a steep hill. You have a hill. You have a hill, sort of.
I have a major hill.
You have a major hill. It's hard to get a single floor house designed with a floor area big enough, and we're talking 3,000 feet probably of the house on one level. Approximately.
Well, it's also to create this courtyard in the back, and that's pushing this whole mass to work too.
That too. It's pushing it down into this hillside. So it's effectively a lot of the houses up on pilotis, it's.
I think there's not much of a courtyard back there now. And I think there's issues with I have to go back and look at the plans, but there's an easement there, so I think there's not a ton of room, like that is the screening area. I don't think there's much of a courtyard anymore. I think it's pushed back as far as it could go.
No, it isn't.
There's less of an issue now than there was when we saw the
Yeah.
plans the last time. So they have made a bit of an improvement there by pushing that element of the house uphill. The master bedroom
Mhm.
portion.
And they moved the entire thing. This is before and after right here.
Mhm.
Let's see.
Yeah, so that,
I mean, it's a big shift. Sorry, it is a big shift. So before we get into more depth, I mean, like I haven't expressed, I mean, where would you stand right now? How would you sort of take this?
I think a little bit about the entrance of the stair. I have to look at the plans and, you know, adding a set of stairs, interior stairs, I'm not super in favor of for the view. For that view, I think the view is. My kind of feeling of that view is. And believe me, I am 100% in favor of preserving views when it's the most practical, and I'm trying to figure out what is the most practical in the situation. My feeling is if I walked into that house, and there was some beautiful screening, it wouldn't be diminished versus I can't, you know, St. Hilary's versus some beautiful screening. Now, good thing Brian's not here because we fight over trees because trees can grow. I mean, I think there is always risk of relying on screening, and I think, you know, that's why there's the Tehran, you know, view ordinance, but
But
um,
the views aren't static.
I agree.
They're dynamic, so there'll always be something that is impacted. The question is that enough? Is that what's guiding us right now? Is it the views? Or is it the massing of the building in of itself? Because we haven't talked about that as well. Like, are we happy with the way it is? I'm not happy with the garage. That elevation to me looks out of proportion. It feels very very tall and narrow. And there's no more glazing there. So it feels very different than it previously was. So that's how I'm sort of looking at this right now. There's two things. Are we looking? Yeah, that elevation bothers me, but it sounds like at least two members would vote it down. Where would you be right now? With modifications, could you see yourself approving it? Or would you want to see more, more than just some modifications? Like, I think Jim and Jim want still major modifications, significant modifications.
I do. I'm not opposed. I'm actually not opposed to the design or the mass of it, but I believe the level at which it starts doesn't work.
Okay.
and I think that the overall massing is just exceptionally large when it could be much less so. It's all glass on the south side, which itself is an environmental problem, but then it's got nothing on the other sides that make it delicate or gentle. It doesn't look nice on the hillside. It's just, in my opinion.
Should we turn it around so we can look at that
Sure,
mass that
sure.
we're talking about?
Going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Yeah, this topo is, I assume, an accurate topography.
That's the massing you're concerned about? I thought you were concerned about the other side.
I'm looking at both sides, actually,
Okay.
all of the sides. On the side to the right, which is the east side, it's got two little windows and that's virtually all you see. But notice there's a whole story and a half under this corner nearest to us, the southeast corner. It's not shown on the building and they're eliminating what the structure is going to be there, but That's either gonna be a very ugly undercarriage to the house or something, some building, something, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I'm less concerned about, I mean, I look at that hill every single day. That's my kitchen faces that hill and the hill is,
It's a
It-
steep hill.
it is a steep hill, but I think also the development over the hill, I said this last time, I feel like it is a little punitive to like single this out as thinking about this design individually when like
All the-
trying to make it perfect when everything on the hill
Is
is
massive.
massive. And-
Massive.
And some things are on, have stilts and it's like,
Yeah,
if you were starting from scratch, agreed, I would like to see less, but it's like. Same thing with the white, I'm with you, but it's like. It's almost like you let the toothpaste out of the tube sort of thing on that hill and. Can't get it back in and it's kind of like, what do you?
We're not trying to put it back in, we're just trying to make it a little less damaging.
Yeah,
you want some modifications, you want major. I probably am in your camp. So we're not gonna be able to pass this, because I mean, there's only two people who are somewhat supportive and two who are gonna be against it. I mean, that's the issue. That's where we're at right now, and just because just for
Yeah.
time's sake. The other issue is, what will it take to have both of you to move the needle? I mean, because we have to come with something.
So
I find this much better than what it was before. When I went to this, when I went to, well, when I went to the story polls today, I mean, it was better. It wasn't as like,
Well, for me, the color of it actually is very important too. I'm more concerned about the color in some respects than almost anything else. But the massing on this side needs to be refined in such a way that it doesn't. It doesn't look so enormous on the hillside, and maybe that can be done. For instance, if you, instead of trying to make it all white, if the building had darker colors and perhaps a stone footing or foundation that tied it to the ground more. Elements that were, were making it richer on the hillside. There's a timidity about those little 1-foot steps of the roof.
yeah,
It bothers me a lot.
that's always bothered me. Yeah, it
well,
doesn't, it seems neither here nor there.
Yeah,
There needs to be a
either you could
whole-
take one whole sloping roof, or you could take an element like lower the middle, which is the family room, and perhaps even raise the master bedroom, but give yourself some richness to the roof line
Or direction. I mean, it's,
or direction. Yeah.
it's kind of like here nor there. Just
Yeah.
one move, another move. It's kind of like. Like
I think
the partie is like two elements.
I think
So-
if you started looking at low slope roofs, 1 or 2 and 12 slope roofs on this and made the plains more interesting that way, I think you'd get farther, so that the roof starts at maybe 8 feet and goes to 10 feet. And in the living room, started at 9 feet on the south side and then climb up with the hillside slope. In other words, you don't have to have the roof all in one direction. Something needs to come together here, I think, so that you could end up with something needs to come together so that we get rid of this blockiness on the streets.
I'm worried about this side. I mean,
Yeah, the one that's gonna turn. Yeah, the one going up the hill. Exactly,
this elevation
right.
here.
And particularly with just white tile all over it.
I guess my question maybe to the three of you is if they reduce the bulk a bit.
Yeah.
In that,
What does that mean?
around the garage,
What does that mean?
Maybe
reduce the bulk.
No, I'm saying, it sounds like you're, trying to, discuss some variation of the roof,
Yeah.
et cetera. That may not impact the view of St. Hilary's from the dining room.
It actually will, yeah, potentially it could make St. Hilary's visible from the dining room. From the dining room to the uphill house you're talking about. I understand that St. Hilary's, honestly, the loss of St. Hilary's in all of the house doesn't bother me as much as other things do.
That's what I wanted to ask.
So I'm not concerned about the view blockage
As much as.
as an
forefront.
individual item, but just the fact that that massive thing is coming all over.
Yeah, exactly. The forefront. I think for me, that's more important than the view, is that
Okay.
now we have something in the forefront.
And the reason I asked that is because I
Yeah.
didn't want to keep moving the goalpost on the applicant of like,
I agree.
Yeah.
what are we hung up on? And it sounds like the view blockage has been reduced
Well,
and,
it's different. It's not a single item. It's actually that whole chunk of downtown and St. Hilary's that get lost by some of this, but I don't think you're gonna be able to get it back, frankly.
and that's something
I think the sacrifice needs to be made to the elevation and give the building some character. Instead of, and St. Hilary's will benefit by it.
Yeah, my thing is, here's where I'm at right now. Like, I am concerned about the view, but not as much. It's something having something in the forefront. My issue right now is, can we tweak the building so that it doesn't feel like they're just residual spaces, but there is actually a clarification of what the massing partie is, the massing
Yeah.
idea because right now it feels like, well, this was here because it needs to be here, but what if, and like the garage seems very, very residual, that elevation really seems very blank, and it's not reading as something interesting anymore, and it's just kind of like, it just is because that's what was left over, and it feels more like the function behind the spaces is defining the elevations and the massing. And so I feel like there's a movement here where we can clarify something, but I don't think I don't know, I'm starting to feel that it's not like a massive move, but there needs to be something that can hold the building together as a building, because it doesn't read as, this is what I want. Reads as like, this is what happened
Mhm.
because of all the moves I made.
I think they obviously decreased some of these ceiling heights, and if you start with the footprint where it is, I don't think you can lower those ceilings any further and preserve the type of home that they want. And for that reason, I think if you do go into the hillside, either lower or further down, you reduce some of the mass, you preserve some of the view. But I just don't think asking them to, lower ceiling heights or compromise further would be ideal way to solve that. I think you need to, again, lower the entire building by moving it deeper into the hillside.
Sam, where are we at right now with the permitting process?
We were just discussing that. So a PSA extension has been signed, but it expires April 3rd. So we have been discussing, or pardon me, 13th. Sorry.
So we still potentially have one more meeting at which to discuss it within the deadline. Obviously, there is no extensions after, we've taken the amount of extensions we can, so.
I mean, that's not fair. Right? I feel like that's actually I don't know. I feel strongly about that we can't let somebody not have a building if they want to change their building. That just that seems like to be a taking.
so I'm following
They can't apply anymore. They can't do anything after the 13th is done. They can't get their building.
Yeah, if a decision isn't made on the application by the 13th, then we would have to deny it
And there's one more meeting available.
on the 4th. And I hate to not come back with good news, but they would have to provide revised plans. Story polls would need to be up 10 days before. So it's a really, really small window.
And we're not providing them with super clear direction. We aren't.
No.
We're very divided.
Well, I think the challenge is it seems like can't make a conditional approval on changing the roof.
No,
elevator. So,
yeah.
you know, I don't,
I mean, they wouldn't approve it. Like, we have two people here who are
Right.
against even small modifications. I think you and I are in the court if there's something that could be done smaller,
Yeah.
other than raising the entire building, that can be done.
but I think the direction, at least that the three of us are aligned on, is like, we believe that if there is a modification to the roof and some roof heights as existed
And probably interiors.
and some interiors, we are okay with the view impact that's currently.
I'm not happy with the elevation. So to
Yeah.
me, it's not necessarily,
I
But that-
honestly, I think there are too many things wrong with it for us to approve it
Oh,
at
no,
the present time. So I think the client needs to, the applicant needs to go back to the drawing board and come back with something that is a little less aggressive and doesn't push quite as hard to get the uniform floor, which is driving this thing. And at the same time, be a little more bold with the elevations and do something more interesting on them.
I think the elevations need work
Yeah.
for me. And whether it's by the roof lines or playing with the windows are just wherever they are. I mean, even this out, where's the street elevation? Yeah, those three windows, they seem so, that one of the second one seems bizarre to me.
the skinny one.
Yeah, that whole elevation doesn't read very
The
well.
biggest piece of massing there has no window in it, and the smallest piece has lots of windows.
Yeah.
A question though, when you say that you don't like the elevation, aren't you saying the same thing I am, that it's hard to build this house from that starting point? I mean, I don't, there is a limit of how low you can build this, house as well from, if you want it where it is.
I think they mean more the facade, like what is on that part of the property. Like if you look at the existing elevation, it just looks more like fluid and continuous with window, kind of uniform windows and things like that. That's what they're.
But there's datum, there's
Yeah.
only a sill datum on the elevation there, but there's no rhyme or reason to what's being there. It's all residual windows to me. To me, that's what it reads like.
Right.
And that double height garage is really, I don't know why, but it's not reading as well. But so to me, it's somehow making this building look more intentional. I don't know. I don't know what that means, so. I don't know how to translate into a constructive piece of advice. But I am not of the ilk that we have to push the entire building down. That's where that's where I differ, is I don't necessarily, for me, I don't need that to happen.
Mhm.
If I may, I just wanted to clarify something for the board and the public record. You know, a denial here would not be a regulatory taking because there is already, I think I think.
Yeah, I did. I
Yeah,
did
that's
say
right.
that.
I just wanted to make sure it would, you know, there is
Are
one
there-
denial.
If there's a denial, what happens to the applicant? Can they come back with another design and?
If you deny it without prejudice,
Uh-huh.
then 16-54.040, which is the code, it, you know, normally if an application is denied, they can't come back with an application that is substantially similar within a year of the original application unless that there has been a substantial change in the project or the denial was made without prejudice. So if you choose to deny it without prejudice, then they can come back whenever they want. That year limitation doesn't apply.
Okay. So they can apply again.
They can apply.
And without prejudice means without giving a recommendation.
You know, it's not defined in the code, but it's kind of just without prejudice. So yeah, it's
And
however you.
substantially different, there's
Yeah.
probably very little case law that could show what that means.
Not that I know off the top of my head, so I haven't.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I guess I think the feedback that I want to make clear is like I want to remove variables for the applicant. And one of the variables coming into this was like the view impact of St. Hilary's from certain parts of the uphill neighbor. And I just want to make sure that we're communicating that while we think there should be improvement to that view given the changes we do want to see, which is in some of the elevations and some of the roof configurations. That is not a blocker right now for the majority of this board. It is not maintaining that. It is not reducing the impact further is not a constraint that we're giving them right now, or a requirement that we're giving them right now.
To improve, yeah, for me, it's not about improving the view further, it's about reducing in the foreground.
Yeah, okay. I think we're all aligned
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah,
Well, three of us.
No, and I am as well, but if you can deal with the elevation, roof configuration, I think we're all saying the same thing. You end up improving the view of the uphill neighbor. I'm just not sure it can be done without too much compromise on the floor. If they can do that and not compromise the ceiling heights that they're comfortable with, I would like to see that, and I would approve that. But so that's what my point was. I think it's a tough position to be in to try to, again, start in that corner. And if you can do it by those terms, elevation, roof configuration, et cetera, good luck, and I'll look forward to seeing that. I do think you're looking at denying it without prejudice, though, and seeing what comes back.
I would also like to add that your decision can be appealed to the council. So,
Sure.
right. So
Yeah.
the applicant has a chance to appeal your
Yeah.
decision.
yes.
So you don't think we can continue because there's just not time? If we,
Can we continue? There's no meeting on the 13th though, right?
Right, so right now, the next meeting is April 4th. So just from a timeline standpoint, we would need story polls 10 days before the 4th, which would be
Like
next
a couple of
Monday.
days.
Yeah.
That's
I-
not great.
I'd like to just suggest that I think we should deny it without prejudice. And there's been quite a bit of potential, we can take it as recommendations or not here, but thoughts that we should make positive comments for this. I think from my own standpoint, I would like to see the building redesigned, look at interior stairs if you have to, recognize that you can keep a master bedroom suite on the same level as the living dining kitchen suite, and maybe that works out. so that you don't keep pushing higher and higher into the view with bigger rooms. The massing is a problem. I think another thing we haven't really touched on, but you've got floor to ceiling glass over the entire south elevation of this. And that's a huge problem from a mechanical standpoint, not to mention a shading standpoint. You need to lower the tops of those windows and raise the bottoms. The bottom 2 feet of a floor to ceiling window looks at nothing but a patio or dirt. So think about raising the bottoms of windows, put in trellises over your south facing glass, and you're going to end up with a much better house out of this. And the trellises don't increase the height or view blockage at all. So you can trade off roof height with trellises very nicely. Anyhow, those are suggestions that I think the kinds of things that would help them. I just don't think this particular house can stand the proposed renovation you're proposing.
Anybody want to try to make a motion? Anybody want to try to make a motion?
Okay.
Okay,
I move that we deny this application without prejudice. Are there any secret issues that we have to deal with? No, because there's no building. And that we've given an hour of time here close to review this, and I think there are a lot of suggestions out there, but there's a building that can go on this site, which can start as this building that's there now. It does not have to be a renovation, a tear down. So I move that we deny without prejudice.
I'll second that.
shall we try to take a roll call vote?
Board Member Malat,
Aye.
Board Member Odericio,
Aye.
Board Member Rosner,
If I vote no, this doesn't impact the ability to reapply, right? No, no, I vote no.
Chair Kim.
No,
Well,
what does that mean?
That doesn't pass.
So that's
Tie is
fine.
actually the motion fails.
So the motion fails.
But it's up to you.
So deny with prejudice?
No,
They can come back in a year? That's not fair.
that's not fair either.
what happens if we vote to continue and they withdraw?
That's another option. If it's continued to the April 4th meeting, the applicant would have the ability to withdraw. And then they could resubmit it anytime.
At any time, okay.
Motion to continue to the April 4th meeting.
Second.
Take a roll call vote, please.
Board Member Rosner,
Aye.
Board Member Odericio,
Aye.
Board Member Malat,
Aye.
Chair Kim.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0 with one member absent. So if the applicant is able to do something by Monday, they have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. We'll move to PH2 then at this point. 2180 Vestasio East Street.
Chair.
Yes.
Is it okay if we take a minute just to turn the projector on and move the?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Sorry, we should have this up in hopefully just a minute.
Okay. Oh.
Should we wait till the board member returns? Give him a minute. Sorry about this.
It's working. I think it's the battery, because when you press this, it works.
Should we start the clock? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Montalbano. I work at Dorman Associates. I'm an architect there. And my clients here, Amy and Bob.
I'm
Ochi.
sorry, can we start the clock?
Is it started? Is it going?
I don't think it's not translating. I can start it on my phone. and
I will start my phone.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
So my clients are Amy and Bob Ochi. They are entering retirement and they purchased this property last year and hired us to renovate it. And I'm just going to I'm not going to go over the plans. I'm going to tell you a little story about it. So this is the existing home. It's got basically a lot of issues, which is steep downslope lot, 1970s construction. It's got no insulation, a lot of deferred maintenance. The rear deck was built without a permit and it's kind of unsafe. It's got T111 plywood siding, single pane windows. The driveway bridge is failing and it's got seismic instability at the garage. It's got no shear reinforcing. It's an extremely narrow street. Everyone talks about how there's no parking on this road. And their driveway, their garage door it's only like 16 feet from the street edge. So you can barely park a compact car there. Also really you're only presented with the garage door at the street and the entry level of the house, main level of the house is a full story down. And they would like to live in this house forever. So that was one of the main goals is can we enter from the street? They also have relatives that really have disabilities and they want to be able to access it from the street. Also right now, this is the underside of the garage. It's all exposed. It's very visible from either the lower level and from the neighbor's house. And the trash storage is very visible and on the street. As I mentioned, the driveway bridge is failing, and you could see this is a good view of how the garage is just kind of hanging out there and has no sheer value. It's also only got 4 piers or 5 piers under the garage. So one of the things that we're proposing here is turning the gable to match the main residence that we're building on and allowing for, we just have an 8-foot plate height there, but it allows us to get 4 cars with stackers in there. And basically keeping most of the roof and working with the existing roof line to extend it and kind of take what's good about the original building and kind of building on it, modernizing it. Here's a diagram of the areas shown in pink. This is the only area, the only additional lot coverage that we're adding. So even though we're increasing the square footage of it, it's because the lower level of the existing building is basically crawl space right now. So we're excavating underneath it and also adding area that's automatically what you see was open air under the garage. So that's the only additional area on the lot that we're adding. I wanted to talk about this a little bit. So this is what we tried to do with the views. Now the pointer's not working. Oh, it is. Okay. So we basically have the view is straight out here. The water's here to the south. And we basically kept the view windows, pushed them all the way to the corner so that when you're in the yard, you're not looking directly out at your neighbor. The neighbor on this side is pretty much at the same elevation. The neighbor on this side is much lower. And they were, to be concerned about privacy here, because we have some kitchen windows here, we were really concerned about privacy screening along this side of the house. And basically from the bathroom down here, which is one of our only additions, the view is straight out, and hopefully we're going to create privacy screening there. This is the neighbor on the west side, and just show they have this kind of privacy wall there already, which is almost at the same level as the proposed second floor deck and existing second floor deck. And this is the side view of their house now, so not major view windows. And this is the neighbor on the east side. And again, this is a garage down here. And so this is habitable space, but has a very, very small window. This is a model of, this is that existing east neighbor, and they have a second floor deck. It's quite a bit below our second floor. This is the existing deck. And so this is what you see when someone's standing on that deck. And this is what is proposed. So basically we have a brise-soleil trellis that we're not only reducing, we're pulling back the balcony on that side, making it only 4 feet. But we are adding this brise-soleil for the windows on that side. And so it would really conceal all of the deck usage here. We're not showing the landscaping that would be down here. Now we are asking for a variance, and I wanted to show in plan that these little pink triangles here, that's the only area of the height that exceeds the allowable. I just wanted to point out how, it really does not block anybody's view. This is the view here. This house is the view here. And if you've seen this house under construction, their floor level is more than 60 feet above the street level. So it's, we're just trying to work with the architecture, and it just looked best to complete the gable roofs and just extend them back. And that's, we tried to minimize it as much as possible. You can see in elevation, just the pink shaded areas, the only areas that we're asking for the variance. And I just wanted to point it out, for example, up here at our entry level, we really minimized it as much as possible. We have a 3-foot landing. We have 4 feet in front of the stair. We have less than an 8-foot plate height here. We actually have we popped it up because we only have 2x4 roof framing to get the you know, the elevator shaft, basically you need that 8 feet clear. And then here we only have 80 inches of headroom here. So we really just tried to minimize that, you know, height as much as possible. Now, the neighbor to the east, we met with them after the story poles were installed and they were concerned about privacy. And we went over to their house. We talked to them for a while. We looked at what they saw. And so I want to point out to you the concessions that we made, the changes that we made. So this is the addition at the first floor. This is the new primary bathroom. And we have a deck out here. And this deck used to extend, as is allowed, you know, to be cantilever 2 feet and matched the side of the junior ADU and the garage wall. And we pulled it back to be in line with the edge of the bathroom. And we created like the slat screen wall that matches the brise soleil to give them a little bit of privacy. Also, what we did here is we originally for the JDU entrance, we had the door on this side. So you come down these stairs at grade and we had a nice little deck here. And these are the windows in the JDU. This is a window in the garage. And so what we did was basically we removed that deck completely. We raised these windowsills. This windowsill is now at 5 feet and this is at 4 feet. And we pulled that all back. So, and basically pulled the door around the corner of the JDU to get it away from them. So this is what it was like before. Sure.
So the story poles reflect this new condition or
New condition. Yes.
not the
Correct.
old position?
Yes, the
condition,
story
okay.
poles were adjusted after we met with them. And the ones that you saw are the proposed, which is the reduced version. And so this is, it's basically, we stop this deck right at the corner of the garage. We tuck under here. This is even a slightly less than 8 foot headroom. So we're, you know, it's a bit of a compromise for that to be the entrance, but we felt like, you know, this was kind of a nice thing to do for the neighbor. So this is the last slide of the presentation here. And so this is the existing rear elevation. This is the proposed rear elevation. And so we're keeping basically most of the roof and basically just extending this roof in the front to become that new 3rd floor, just little foyer area. And then the garage again is pretty much staying in exactly the same place. It's just rotating to touch the building. And we rotate the gable. So if you have any questions.
I did one question, a couple questions actually. Just to confirm, the height variance you're requesting is to facilitate the double stacked cars and keep a gabled roof. Is that the motivation? Is there anything on this?
Well, not really, because the gable on the front of the building does not require the height variance. And so that's that roof pitch matches the existing roof pitch. And, you know, we did look at basically creating a hip at the back, a hip roof, and it looked really unattractive. And it will be visible from the water and it on the hillside. And so it is achievable without it, but we thought it was really just unappealing and unattractive. And since the variance request really does not impact anyone, there's no way that anybody could try to, you know, have any kind of view. We just thought that it was better architecturally.
Okay, just to integrate the existing
Exactly.
garage roof with the rest of those. Okay. And then can you talk a little bit about the planning in between your
Finish. Do you have any more of the presentation left or?
No, this is the last
Okay.
slide.
I'm
if
gonna
you
put
want,
the
I have
time on
plans.
pause because
Okay.
we're asking questions. Okay.
sorry, I thought you said you had that. Plannings between you, the applicant home in 2200. Can you just talk a little bit about the design, the planning choices and what you were trying to achieve there? And
Oh, the planting choices?
Yeah.
Yes, so, okay, so the neighbor, we have some right about here on the, so this is that neighbor. And right now, there's some acacias that are along this side property line. And so one of the things they asked was, can you please not cut those, even though they have, when Amy and Bob first bought the place, they asked them to trim them, and Amy and Bob did, and they're acacias, they grow back really fast. So unfortunately, we know that we will be required to remove those because they are extremely flammable. So we will have to remove them. We would like to replace them with something that provides screening between the neighbors, but will not grow out of control and is also fire safe. So the plants that are chosen on this partial landscape plan that we submitted are all fire safe. They don't grow too big, and they do provide a good amount of screening. So that's what it's screening, but protecting views and being fire safe. That is the goal. And they're natives.
I wasn't able to go to that neighbor's house, but the narrow window there, what is that? What's on that other side?
I believe it's a bathroom, isn't it? Is it above the garage?
It's our kitchen.
Oh. Kitchen.
Okay, thank you. Jim?
Did you look at, you said you did or did not look at designs of lowering those roof peaks? I didn't quite understand your comments about.
No, we did. So they meet the allowable roof height in the front, right? It's only in the very back where they kind of exceed that. And so we did look at basically just creating a hip to meet the requirements. And although it met all the requirements, it did not look very attractive. So that's really why we're asking the variance. It doesn't impede the ability for us to have the car stackers, and it really doesn't impede our ability to have that foyer, but it makes it much more pleasant, much more attractive, I think, from the exterior and the interior.
I am concerned about the brise soleils on both sides in increasing the cutoff of view to both adjacent neighbors. And I wanted to know, what is your brise soleil configuration? What are you just doing boards stack boards on an area like that?
Yes, it's so we have
45 or
wood
something?
cedar or another wood, probably a tropical hardwood.
I'm not worried about that, but how big and what's the spacing?
Oh, they're 1x4 with small gaps, 1/2 inch, 3/4 gaps.
So they're tilted so you can see through them from this house, but you wouldn't be able to see through them from the other house?
No, they're solid. They're flat, vertical, basically. So they're not tilted to allow for
And
they're really shading device.
reading the plans correctly when I see the hot tub on the level of the master bedroom?
Yes, on the lower level.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. What we'll do now is open it up for the public to comment. So if there's a member from the audience who'd like to make a comment, you have 3 minutes. And please state your name and address, please.
Hi, I'm Ann Deemer. I'm the neighbor to the east at 2200 Vistazo Street East. You'll wait for a clock to start.
I started the clock, it's not showing video.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you for your time, for considering our letter with concerns, and thank you to Alex for coming out to our house. That was a very nice accommodation, because it's hard to sometimes put these things in a letter. So I object to the pushing out of the house on the side, because our houses are already very close together. I think from the pictures I sent, it's just, it's not desirable to have them as close as possible. And the purpose that they're pushing out for, I think it's undesirable to have an outdoor entertaining space that close to the side of our house that I can see from our primary back deck right into. And it'll be prominent every time I'm coming into my house. I can see that entertaining side deck on the, that they're trying to pop out there. And then below there, they're proposing to pop out their master bath. And from my back deck, I would be looking into a window, which is framing a soaking tub, which just doesn't seem like good for either party. The second thing I object to is that what they call brise soleil, because in my view, it's extending that wall of the house out 4 feet. And I showed Alex sitting in my dining room, I'm just going to see a wall where now I see, they mentioned trees. I didn't ask them to trim them. I just mentioned that the past neighbor that I had paid to trim the trees very selectively so that it provided privacy and also view. So that was something I did because it didn't really impact them as much. But they haven't trimmed them and I didn't request it. But yes, I'm concerned about that. I'd propose if they could push it back from our house. Right now, the existing deck doesn't actually go all the way flush to the end of the wall. It's like it's cut in and then it's angled, which is a little more neighborly for not having as much bulk that we see from our house in our primary living space. My last concern, which I didn't put in my letter, but I noticed having looked over the plans more times, is on the wall facing us on the east side where we just have that one long window. They currently have one little tiny window, but it looks like in the new plans, they're gonna have 10 windows on that side, 2 of which we will see from our main living space down below and up above. And so I hope that that would just be addressed in your deliberation in terms of privacy concerns. And
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Okay, is there anyone else from the public who'd like to speak? Okay, now let's go to the online audience.
Chair Kim, there are no public comments.
Okay, at this time, if the applicant would like to speak, you have 5 minutes to do so.
Thank you. So I don't have much to respond about because we felt like we met with the neighbors and we tried to address their concerns. I just want to point out that the entrance, the buildings, it's a pie-shaped lot. And so where we encroach towards and touch the setback line, which is actually 8 feet, is only at a point. So it's not like we have a wall that's parallel to the setback line. It's really just a corner that's touching those setbacks, which is at the garage and that master bath addition. And again, we really feel like landscape screening between the properties. There's really a lot of room between the properties to afford quite a bit of landscape screening that would allow for privacy, whether there was an addition there or not. I think it's kind of, if you look at it now, it's just a sad little chain link fence between 2 properties. It really seems like it needs some landscaping. And we feel like that would really address all the concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Do you have a question?
I do have a question. Sorry, I'm looking back at the story poles and I just want to confirm one thing, that the garage height, it is being increased significantly. It is you're increasing the height of the roof generally, right? And the variance is to match the height addition of the main house to make it integrated. And because there's elevation changes in the garage, there's a variance, right?
Well, it's a little complicated because right now the roofs that travel north to south are slightly lower pitch than the ones that run east to west. So we're matching the east to west. So basically we're matching the gable pitch in that direction that's facing the street, the gable end. So it's a little bit steeper. So So in a way, we are, so we have to raise the floor of the garage about 10 inches to get it above the exit, to be at the, that main level or that new entry level. And we put an 8-foot wall on that. So although the plate height is that 10 inches taller. However, right now, the gable is facing the neighbor. So that wall is taller. So because we're turning the gable away, even though we're raising it, it's still not as high as the existing gable point. So the peak is higher, but the peak is further away.
Okay, all right.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from the board?
I did. Could you address this? I didn't understand the comment earlier about a wall with 2 windows versus 10 windows. Was there something?
I'm
I
not sure
missed
about
in
that
the-
because we showed you the before and after
Yeah.
and yeah, we have the same number of windows. We just raised all the sills. So we had just
There's
three,
no
those are
other-
the only windows in that JDU except the ones that are facing the deck.
Okay, there was no supplement or change in that. Okay.
So A 3.0, the elevation, the east elevation, you're saying that's not correct from the package that we have? Because the entrance has changed to JDU.
Oh, no, that is, there's crawl space down there and that's the only location that we can get in there. So that's just a crawl space door. That's not the JDU entrance.
But the
3 point-
east,
Yes,
three on 3.0.
yeah, the JDU, if you look at 2 on
Mhm.
a 3.0, that's the JDU elevation. So it's facing the street now. And it's under the garage, so it's tucked underneath.
I understand.
Yeah,
okay.
that door you see it's the only place that we can access the crawl space because the grade on the other side of this is like 5 feet high
Okay,
because it slopes down. So it's just crawl space. It's,
okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. At this point, we'll close it up to the public and deliberate amongst ourselves. I'll start off. The Brise Soleil, it's pretty dense and it's not the view, it's the sunlight. That's what I'm thinking is
Both.
more. Yeah, it's probably both. One idea is maybe we can increase the gap. I don't know. I mean, a quarter inch is not gonna do it, but I mean, maybe there can be a variation so that it gets much more porous.
I would err on a different way. Brise Soleils don't have to be continuous.
Yeah,
They can be strategically placed, so that
It
one party
feels like
can't
it.
see over it, the other party can't see through it, or vice versa. I think I would wait until the building is built and consider putting in appropriate Brise Soleils then, rather than anything else, and err on the side of minimalism. 'Cause you really don't have to conceal the whole view, and it is a huge hit, as you said.
yeah. The other point was the master bedroom or the bathroom. And when I went to the site, that was the first thing that I thought about was there's this thing now that's encroaching in the space that was between the buildings now, and it's pretty massive. It's a pretty massive change. First, you're pushing the garage closer to them now because you're changing the angle and it's becoming taller. So it's getting pushed. And then you have this big bump out here. And I was just like, that was kind of nice that there was nothing there before. It gave breathing room. And I was looking at it. Maybe there's a way to I don't know, change the angle, rotate it 90 degrees, and that could thin up the bathroom a little bit. I mean, you're not going to get as generous of a shower, but maybe there's something that could be done, one more iteration of that to bring that closer to that wall. So that was my comment on that one. And then the third was the roof pitch. I don't know. I like how the the two pieces sort of mimic each other, and then you have the entryway, sort of the little gate there, that sort of matches that pitch, but I'm wondering, I don't know how much room there is, but I can see it's already tight there. I mean, because it's so close to the neighbor, so I'm just like, gosh, it really casts a shadow on that pitch. I don't know if there could be a play on that pitch. So those are my big three comments. Jim, would you like to go?
I also did not like the idea of exceeding the maximum height just for, I understand what you're saying about architectural design. I think that needs some additional thought or approach, but and maybe it is changing the pitch of the roof, but I am not in favor of exceeding maximum height for that reason. It does not, I'm just not convinced that it couldn't be done differently and without doing that. And it does add some mass effect to the house, I think, as well.
I think just generally, there's just a lack of screening between the properties. And I think that deck, that side deck, I think the reason there's a lack of screening is because you want a view from the side deck. Otherwise, it's a really tight, kind of dark, cold, deck. And I get that it's a nice feature to have, but at the expense of screening between two properties that are very close together, I think is something really worth reconsidering. I think the applicant will be happier with, I mean, they have a hot tub. Yeah, I stood on the deck, I walked around the deck, I walked around the properties. You have a hot tub basically right there's, even in the rendering, there's screening on the rendering, but there's no screening in the landscape plan. It's coffee berry plants, and there's a couple other things. I would like to see just more privacy all around.
Like pulling back the edge of the main deck. So it's not necessarily coplanar with the edge of the building, so it gives a little bit more relief. Does that make sense? Like that edge right there.
This edge.
Yeah. Because right now it's not there. It's not right there. It's pulled back a little bit.
Well, I'm trying to go to the pictures. I got them not pictures. I mean, realistically, the current deck right now, that they're close to each other, but there's a massification of trees in between them. So it's less of a, there's privacy to some degree. Once those are gone, and I'm not arguing to keep the acacias per se, but I think there needs to be a little bit more of a thought in some like really robust screening, and I think that's gonna impact the view of the rear side deck, which I think is not again, it's pushing that more in between the two houses. I think that adds just a lot of more loss of privacy. And yeah, I was looking at the elevation that does look into the kitchen, with the lack of screening there, it is going to be, I think there's going to be a lot of light pollution there from the windows. From like their main kind of kitchen area. So I hate like solving problems with landscape, but I mean, it's a tight house. The houses are close together and you have outdoor living space close to each other. You need something, I think, more dense in there, for sure.
See how the current deck is pulled back from the edge? This is what I'm saying is
Page.
the drawing is a 2.1. So you have the existing condition where the existing main deck is pulled back from the edge. And that's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah. I think it's, I think that'll help. I don't think it'll solve the problem without screening, though. Did you agree?
So. Interrupting you?
No. Never.
So one thought about the decks is the existing deck is in sort of in the center of the mass of the building in the back. And if you did that on these two decks, stack them in the middle, then you would obviate your privacy problem dramatically from both parties. And the need for screening or brise soleil or any other kind of fixed device would be minimal, if not at all. So I think that might be a possible solution for the back. The deck goes here instead of on one side and the other side. With regard to the roof plane, my first reaction was exactly the same as yours. I don't see any real reason for the exceeding the height limit. And then I started looking at the neighborhood, and I remodeled years ago the house to the west for its present owner still. And they have a steep roof, and it is about as steep as these roofs are. And it has a lesser, doesn't have quite as large a chord across the roof, so these would look a little bigger. But if the roof was a dark and a slate or something like that, like the ones on the neighbor, I think it would be tolerable, and I don't think that small amount of roof is likely to be. I mean, it's not a huge issue with regard to hillside lots. We've had quite a few more that are steeper. I too would like to see the slope smaller, and I thought that would work, except if they want to park 4 cars in that little tiny garage, they need every bit of slope they can get out of it. So I don't see changing the slope as solving that problem. And the street has so little parking that this is a godsend for anybody to have it there. We did the same thing in a project in Sausalito, and sometimes it's the only way to do that. If you look at the little red portions of on the elevations on A3.1, it's pretty minimal in an area, and it's only half the length of the ridge of the roof. I would like to see a study on the windows on the side of each property, because some of them should be obscure glass based on neighboring conditions, and you don't have any drawings of what the neighbors' houses are, so it's hard to tell what the issues are there. But I think, for my money, we should require that as a part of the submission. That's what we're all about, is the adjacencies and conditions.
Yeah, that'd be nice to see superimposition of the neighbors' reflected elevation on the elevation. Those drawings are always really helpful.
But the building it's a nice looking building. It's the color scheme is gracious, and it is a dramatic, nice addition. I feel for the poor street. That street has had a succession of a 4-year remodeling, which is just finishing up, another 4 or 5 year remodeling, which is 1 year in, and this one, which will be a 3-year remodeling, give or take a bit. Nice try. So those are, excuse me, those are my thoughts, and I think with some massaging, I could approve the property.
I would like to see it come back though, because I want to see the elevations, especially on the side. I think the neighbor actually did make a valid point, saying, talking about the light pollution. A lot of times what we see is more blank walls between the houses that are so tight. So for me, like, it would be nice to see the superimposition of the neighbor's house on that elevation, on both elevations, so we can understand how how the massing looks and how the elevation, the windows are in relation to each other. That would be really helpful. But I could make the finding for the setback, I mean, encroachment, because that's what we're asked to look at, the variance.
I'm sorry.
The front setback. We're asked to approve a variance, but I'd like to see it come back just one more time, probably. That's how it's close, but I think it's just one more. I don't know how you feel.
Also, sorry, you done?
Yeah, go ahead. I just.
The side windows need to be carefully studied. For instance, there's a window showing in the master shower, and it's a 4 foot by 2 foot window. That's going to expose somebody to an awful lot of pollution or privacy loss. So, I mean, windows like that in the shower need to be 2 by 2, above shoulder height, you know, just redo things that are smart.
Be tempered, I mean, frosted, right?
It's too much glass in the shower anyhow. But it's nice to be able to open that window. So, you know, an awning style window above shoulder height is a better solution. And I think all of those side windows are there. On the other hand, I will have to say to neighbors that the threat of visually spying from a deck is highly overrated. Decks are much more visual pleasure to look at than they are an actual pleasure to be out on. You know, you use a deck 1% of the year maybe, and it's there 365 days of the year. So you don't have to worry quite as much about pollution as we all do, or lack of privacy as we all do.
I would, sorry, Jim, can you just mention your deck recommendation one more time, just so?
Yeah, if you look on sheet A 2.4, which is the main floor level, the deck is over on the right side in front of the living room. It sticks out, whatever that is, 12 feet there, so. And there is a 4 foot section of the deck that goes all the way over to the left in front of the dining room, which is totally unnecessary. So if, for instance, you just cut that 4 foot deck off on the left side, you can leave it on the right because it serves a useful stair function, but decks don't need to be much bigger than about 12 by 12 to be totally functional. That's as much furniture as you can put on a deck, usually a 3 or 4 foot diameter table and 2 or 3 chaises, 4 chairs. That's 12 by 16. That would be fine right in the middle of that back wall. Sort of the same size deck they've drawn is large, more larger than I'm talking about, but it's plenty big enough. And if it's in the center of the back wall, then you're not peeking at the neighbors. And they're just barely seeing a corner of your deck.
Yeah, it might be also nice to have, wait, does the site plan have the outline edges? Oh yeah, they do have the massing right there. So the site plan has the massing of the surrounding properties. Anybody want to try to make a motion? Any issues with the date, Samantha?
Right now, their PSA expires on April 20th, but they can extend it. There's been no extension signed, so.
So it could be extended. So we have until April, what was it, April 20th? And we could extend it 90 days from then as well.
Okay.
If it gets to that.
I mean, anybody want to try to make a motion about what things we want to see? Like, we're not sure we're going to give the variance for the roof.
I personally have,
No problem with
the
it.
reason why I asked is, I have no problem with it. I'm
You can make the
also-
findings for the,
I'm trying to figure out how to make the findings for it.
Yeah.
My brain's too fried to
yeah.
right now. If it's
It's not a
Sure, it's-
privilege given to others. I mean, it's unfairly, provided. There's four conditions for approval. I think I can make the findings for the front setback.
Absolutely.
Not sure about the height yet. And so I guess it's upon the applicant to show why that this condition is provided to other properties. It's not a self-imposed condition.
Does the staff have findings?
I'm screwing up these findings. Can you list those four really quickly?
Did they make the point?
I apologize, it's getting late.
No, I should know them off the top of my head, but if I'm reading it into the record, I want it to be accurate.
I can open up the,
Jim, the house that you mentioned, was there a variance on that home that you worked on? The same reason?
We weren't raising the roof, so no.
Okay, so there wasn't, okay.
There would have been if we wanted, so I think it's over.
so the findings, the four findings is that because of the special circumstance applicable to the property, including the size, shape, topography, location, and surroundings, the strict application will deprive of the applicant of privileges enjoyed by other properties. The second is that the lot variance, it's not the lot variance, sorry, it's the variance will not constitute a grant of special privileges. The staff can make that finding, you can read about it. The third is that the strict application would result in a practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship. And then the fourth is the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other properties in the vicinity. So the question is, the staff did write how they were able to make each of the findings for the lot coverage, the height, and the front yard setbacks. So the question is, can we make those findings? Or at this point, maybe the thing is, can we provide direction for continuance? So I think if somebody wants to try to make a motion.
Do you want to address the findings or not?
Not at this time. I think we probably will be able to make it, but I'm just recommending that the applicant thinks about that. Yeah.
Just want to make sure, again, removing a variable that the height was an issue from we could all giving the guidance that the height isn't kind of something to revisit. If staff and the applicant feels that they can convince us to make the findings, it wasn't a design problem for us.
Yeah, so we're not talking about the variances. They're asking for 3. The question is what kind of conditions we want to see, or what kind of constructive criticism we want to see in bringing this to a continuance. To continue this to a date. Should we make it a date certain at this point then, or should we ask the applicant to sign an extension?
Can we open it up to the applicant, or if you want
Yes.
to do?
Yes, let's open it up to the applicant. So we'll open the public comment to see, just to answer whether or not you want to extend the application period, and
I
if
think we
there's a
would
date
be,
certain.
we could be ready for the next meeting. It doesn't sound like there's that
Okay.
much to do.
For April 4th?
Yeah.
Okay. Just to clarify, so if you are modifying any of the story poles, those would need to be modified by Monday. So it's the only way we need revised plans. So you're fully capable, it's just a short turnaround.
I think we can do it, yeah.
Okay. Do we want to give any direction to the applicant at this time? I'm sorry, we're closing that up again, and then we're gonna deliberate. I mean, I do want to see something with that little bathroom thingy.
Yeah, I think we could suggest that I'd like to see new story poles for the decks, just to see what the difference would be in the back there. And it'll be considerable. And they've already identified the roof heights, so your tapes have torn off on on your height indicators. I don't have any other additions.
So it's
I'd like to see some
decks, the little bathroom.
notes on the windows
The, no- what, the
Elevation.
elevation, yeah, the elevation study on the sidewalls with the imposition of the context.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just the privacy screening, and like potential light pollution, in between the neighbor. I think the one thing that we have not given direction on is the existence of the side deck.
Yeah, we did.
We affirm guidance.
No, that we would like for them to revisit that.
Alright.
So it sounds like we have quite a few things. Anyone want to try to make a stab at this? And then Jim, what would you like to see?
No, I think you've mentioned everything
Okay.
I had an issue with. And then if the other members were, I didn't quite understand what their comments, if you're comfortable with the additional height variance because of the design, I wouldn't oppose that, but I didn't understand if there was, wanted to be some more time spent on trying to redesign that or not. I didn't understand that from the rest of the group.
Okay, so
I can, do you want me to explain?
anybody have issues with the height?
I guess I'd say from our discussion, I don't think we have issues of the impact of the height. We just need to make the findings for the height variance.
But Jim,
Okay.
Jim has issues with the height. I think you had
Well,
issues.
I think if it's defined, then I could be convinced of it because of the other comments
Okay,
made a good point. But
Okay.
if they would address that, I could approve the current variance.
okay. So, I move, somebody want to make motion? I move to, continue this application to, I'm not gonna leave it a date
No.
because I don't think they can do that with in 3-4 days to change the story poles for the side issues, the side bathroom thingy, restudy that as well as the location of the decks. I'm not confident that could be done and certified by Monday.
Just so there are options, you could always continue it to a date certain, and then if additional time is needed, we could continue it at that meeting too, with the PSA extension.
That sounds
so.
good. We will then, I'll make a motion to continue it to the April 4th meeting and with the look at the decks, the brise soleil, the bathroom and
Landscaping.
the landscaping
In this height.
and the height.
Findings for the height variance.
Yeah, well, we'll have to make the findings for all the variances, but yes. Okay, thank you. Let's take a roll call vote.
Second.
Oh, you want to second it? Sorry, that's right, needs to be seconded. Okay. Yeah,
Board Member Odericio,
Yes.
Board Member Rosner,
Yes.
Board Member Malat,
Yes.
Chair Kim.
aye. So the motion passes with one board member who's absent and was not able to vote. Next, we'll move up to page 3. This feels like a marathon. We will move to 5 Wilkins Court. I actually feel glad that we got rid of the fire, let the firemen rest. Samantha, it was Samantha's suggestion.
They asked.
Oh, they did?
For the
Okay.
record.
Okay. I will start the clock on my little thingy. I'm not sure what else to do. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Oster and am owner of 5 Wilkins Court. I live there with my wife Mallory, who is on the line, and home with our almost 3-year-old daughter. I'm also here with Kyle Thayer, our architect of Thayer Architecture. And First and foremost, thank you to the Design Review Board for your consideration of our project, and thank you to the town of Tiburon for everything you've done to assist in getting this far and going through the process. My wife and I bought the home in June of 2021, and the home had not been updated on the interior for about 30 years, though has been well maintained. And as we were going through the process of planning an update to the home, we had continued to run into design challenges due to our sunken living room that we have currently. And we have come to the conclusion that by bringing that living room up to the elevation of that main level, we would be able to unlock some additional living space below the home where we could stay within the footprint of the home, and also could improve the safety, reducing some of the, kind of half staircases all over the place for children. And we have reached out to our neighbors about our plans. We've discussed the plans with both adjacent neighbors on the left and right and have not had any objections, only words of support. And also informed the neighbor that's kind of down on Geldert Court and did not hear back from them. So, with that, I think I'll turn it over to Kyle to go through the details of the plan in a little bit more depth.
Good evening. I'm Kyle Thayer, the project architect. Yeah, thank you for your continued attention. The project really has two components, as Mike was mentioning. It was the raising of the living room in order to, it does two things. It allows development of some of the crawl space areas for a bedroom and a study, and eliminates staircases on the main level, integrating the living room with the other living areas on that entry level. All of the changes are within the existing footprint of the building. And so this is not an aggressive proposal that goes outside the building. There is a landscape component too, and I'm not the expert on that, but if there are questions, I believe that our landscape architect is available to answer questions about that component of it. So the downstairs addition is 757 square feet. And there's a new staircase that involves eliminating an existing fireplace. So that's the change in the lot coverage. We're actually reducing the lot coverage by the 9 square feet by removing this fireplace box. Then we have control over the visuals here. Could you please turn to sheet A 1.2, which is the elevation comparison? There we go. And how does this work? Let's see. I see. Okay, cool. In the existing south elevation, there's a wood deck, and these are windows. And you can see that the plate height of this is the lowered living room. And the proposal here on the left is to raise that same deck size. It would be rebuilt with cable railings and proper structure and whatnot. But you can see that then the floor level matches the floor level in the existing building. See, that's what this is. So we're just taking that floor level, moving it up, and commensurately we are raising the plate height in that living room. And then could you please scroll down a little bit? We need to see the east elevation at the top. Okay, thanks. Yeah, so we're taking, it's a little bit confusing here, but we're extending that ridge and bringing it, and that becomes the plane of the roof that in that living room. So that's the new height of the living room plate. And then scroll back down, please. Okay, to the, yeah, there we go. So, the result is that in the existing, there's an existing ridge right here. We're taking that line and extending it over in order to put a roof over this new raised living room. So you can see that we're not increasing the height of that ridge, we're extending it along its length. So I hope that clarifies the nature of the proposal that would be visible. The other parts there we're improving spaces at the lower level, which involve adding windows, adding a small deck off of this room here. I believe it's a media room. And this is a workout room right here. So this is a deck with new stairs. It's a new deck with new stairs down to the yard. And there's a new access door here. So all of those changes are, from when viewed from the outside, are just new windows. What else? The colors and materials are, the roof remains the same. Much of the roof would be saved. And for this new portion, we would be matching the weathered wood color of the existing. The exterior is stucco, and I believe it's sort of a creamy yellow color now, and the proposed color is in the same family of colors. I mean, so I don't think it's a dramatic change in colors there. And I do want to commend the staff for the clarity of the staff report. I've done a lot of these over the years, and the staff report, I think, outlines the scope of the project and ends with these couple of sentences that I just want to read. Staff finds that the proposed improvements comply with all development standards and that there are no design concerns, as the additions will be consistent with the existing style and footprint of the subject property. The additions would not appear to impact the existing views of neighboring properties.
Any questions from the board to staff or the applicant? Okay, seeing none, are you yielding the rest of your time? Okay. There's nobody in the audience, so we shall go to the online community, see if there's any comments.
Chair Kim, there are no comments.
Okay, thank you. Does the applicant have, you have 5 minutes to make a rebuttal to no one?
I could sing a song if you'd like me to, but no, there's nothing further that we need to stress at this point.
Okay, thank you. And at this time, we'll close it up to the public and deliberate amongst ourselves. Thank you.
I'll open it. I went out twice actually to look at it and found that aside from a 3-foot raise in the roof of the dining room, of the living room ridge, there was virtually nothing you could see from the outside of the house. So I think it's a smart reuse of the building, and more power to you. And I agree with the staff.
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo, it's nice to see a smart project that has very little impact. Not to say other projects aren't smart, but it's no, I'm gonna walk that one back, I guess.
That's okay, they're gone, it's okay.
But yeah, it was a great use of space and development of the existing properties. So I would definitely approve as is, and good luck with developing it.
No, if there was no impact concerns from the neighborhood, a little bit of impact from the street, but as you've said, you really worked around that quite well. If there's no complaints, certainly would approve that.
It seems like a surgical renovation, but it's not gonna be easy still. There's no such thing as, as an easier renovation. So, anybody want to make a motion to, I can see, us approving the variance for the increased, it's the lot, was there a variance for
No,
lot
there's no
coverage?
variance.
No variance, okay. So let's move forward. Anybody would like to make a motion?
Motion, is there a draft resolution? Motion to approve the draft resolution.
There is no draft resolution. Oh, wait, under
It's ready to
attachments.
vote on. There were
There
some
is.
attachments that were,
It should be attachment 1.
I see the draft. Nope, I don't see the conditions of approval, exhibit B. So that must mean that there's a draft resolution. The resolution is on attachment 1, which is on page 8 of the PDF.
yeah, I saw it on the PDF.
Do the motion then.
Okay.
It's been a long night.
Let's make a motion. I make a motion to approve the resolution as drafted and state that we agree with the staff that the project is categorically exempt from CEQA.
Second.
Can we have a roll call vote?
Board Member Rosner,
Aye.
Board Member Malat, Board Member Odericio,
Aye.
Chair Kim.
Aye. The motion passes with one absentee. Thank you so much. The meeting is hereby adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.